We are in this room in a very profound example of that. This is an extraordinary newspaper owned by one of the most destructive men on planet Earth. Don't mean to be impolite, but I have to be honest. Rupert Murdoch, now his son, Lachlan as well, have been waging a war on American democracy, pluralism, tolerance, love, justice. I would imagine a lot of the things people in this room think are important values. And then you were here at this old newspaper that he acquired. I personally think it's kind of morally untenable.
Oh, that's gonna hurt!
Calling out the Murdochs at a conference held by a paper owned by said family, a family responsible for an unmitigated amount of damage to societal discourse, mainstreaming the hate-filled diatribe, allowing it air to mutate beyond the point of salvation. Well, sign me up.
Ideas of fairness, of accuracy.
That is what this paper stands for. You've seen it on the stage, you see it in our pages every day.
I am here, right? I mean, I was surprised to be here. And I was told by 3 people before I came on, we want you to be provocative. I mean, I deeply, like if I was you, I would not invite me.
This is journalist Anand Giridharadas, and he was a guest speaker at a conference called, quote, the Wall Street Journal CEO Council. Now, for those familiar with the many branches of the Rupert Murdoch empire, you'd know the Wall Street Journal is owned by the Murdochs. So, while in attendance to discuss an array of topics, Anand felt compelled to acknowledge the elephant responsible for more damage than most dictators. That this esteemed American newspaper has no business belonging to Rupert Murdoch. I think it's worth listening to every single second.
We are in this room in a very profound example of that. This is an extraordinary newspaper owned by one of the most destructive men on planet Earth. Right? At the end of that, I don't mean to be impolite, but I have to be honest, right? And my friends who work at the Journal, again, sitting on the couch over drinks, don't say things very different than what I say. There is a problem when someone, not through the organ of this newspaper, which has, fortunately, and for the country's sake, been kept what it is, but through other organs, like Fox News, other newspapers, particularly in the cable realm, through Fox, completely shredded the American social fabric, gone after white resentment and backlash to try to inflame resentments. Rupert Murdoch, now his son, Lachlan as well, have been waging a war on American democracy, pluralism, tolerance, love, justice. I would imagine a lot of the things people in this room think are important values. And then you were here at this old newspaper that he acquired, that he's, I guess, blessedly left untouched. And what do you do? What do you do? It's not easy. I mean, I understand these kind of acquisitions are complicated, but I would say personally, in the example you raised of a tension between employees and bosses, I personally think it's kind of morally untenable for a newspaper that is so important to be owned by someone who over there in a slightly different room is undermining not what I believe in, but I think the very things the Wall Street Journal stands for every day. Ideas of truth, ideas of fairness, of accuracy, right? And
that is what this paper stands for. You've seen it on the stage, you see it in our pages every day.
I am here, right? I mean, I was surprised to be here. And I was told by 3 people before I came on, we want you to be provocative. I mean, I deeply, like if I was you, I would not invite me, right? Like this is your spirit. This is your commitment, right? But it has to be mentioned that, and this happens in so many contexts where there's the kind of small, valiant force of people trying to represent these values that we're talking about. But if you do the reporting that I've done, many of your reporters have done, you've probably done, where you go out in the country and you talk to people in this political season, people's brains have been broken en masse by a project of the inflammation of hate, of disinformation. Do you know the number of Americans who believe in QAnon now as an organizing principle of their lives? The number of Americans who have all kinds of fantasies about what's happening on the border, what's happening with a great replacement theory. And so this is not something that happens in the weather. It's been done. It's been done by multiple people. But Rupert Murdoch's legacy is that America. So if you are a good reporter at the Wall Street Journal, a good employee, as your question asks, who disagrees with the bosses, what do you do? And I would say, in this case and in many cases, you refuse the conditions of the deal. You refuse to work for someone who is undermining what you stand for every day, the values you stand for every day. And I think we're going to need to see in the era that's coming courage like that across the board, institution after institution after institution.
And he is spot on. When people think of the Murdochs, right, they associate them with Fox News or the New York Post. You know, the real brazen racist types that even in spite of multi-million-dollar lawsuits still peddle lies and conspiracies like they just handpicked them from a MAGA hat before going on air. But the Murdochs have their fingers in many a pies.
Jeff, over 7 decades, Rupert Murdoch assembled an unmatched global media empire. Newspapers, television, and movies in the United States, Britain, and Australia. It includes Fox News, the Fox Television Network, Fox Sports, the Wall Street Journal, and the New York Post. The 92-year-old Murdoch has used them to wield enormous political influence in 3 continents. But they've also led to some self-inflicted wounds, most notably Fox News' $787 million settlement with Dominion Voting Systems for defamation over the 2020 election.
Gives them more power and more control. Control to appear neutral. It is strategic, as it allows for the mainstreaming of fear-inducing propaganda to continue. Now, will a journalist going into the lion's den and calling out said lion tamer who just allows the lion to run rampant and feast freely drastically change anything? Probably not. But I still see advantages, as I've said before, of Pete Buttigieg going on Fox News or Jessica Tarlov shining an unwavering light on the insanity of her colleagues.
You give us some insight into what she might say to justify why she was for Medicare for all then and is not for it now, for example.
Well, there's a classic parlor game of trying to find a little bit of daylight between running mates. And if people want to play that game, we could look into why an evangelical Christian like Mike Pence wants to be on a ticket with the president caught with a porn star, or how he feels about the immigration policy that he called unconstitutional before he decided to team up with Donald Trump. If folks want to play that game, we could do it all night.
But this is different. This is calling them out away from their home base, in places that many people in the American public probably go to thinking they're receiving fair and neutral news. But that vein, it stems from the same rotten heart, which less people know about, and that's what makes this all the more important.
Thanks so much for watching. We're only a few subscribers short of 2 million subs. Please subscribe right now to the MeidasTouch YouTube channel for free and help us grow this unapologetically pro-democracy network.